Welcome to Programming by Practicing, where my aim is to take you from a novice to an expert in a single day. So let's get started. Hey guys, so let's learn some time functions. Nobody has time for anything, but we do, right? Let's learn about time in a short time. Okay, that was very bad, but let's get started. Anyway, so Ruby provides us with a convenient class for dealing with dates and time, and that's called the time class. So to start teaching you guys, let me start by defining a small variable, and the first function which I want to teach you is the now function. It's a convenient function provided by Ruby to get an instance of the date at this particular moment along with the time. So let me try by printing it. Again, Ruby is so awesome that when you try to print the variable, if it's a time object, Ruby converts it into a human readable string. So let's print Ruby Time.rb, and you can see it printed the exact time which is at the bottom. And this is useful if you want to read a time provided by a user and then check whether it's greater than or less than the current time for some comparison. If you don't want to create an instance of now, you can also create an instance of whatever you want to do, and you start by giving the date 2019. You don't have to give any other variables, but at a minimum you just have to give the year. So if you execute the script, you can see that it set the year as 2019, but everything else defaults to the first available date and time, which is January 1st and time 00, and by default time zone goes to -0600. So following this, the first parameter is year, and if you want you can add a month, a date, and then an hour, and then minute and second, and if you want you can also give an optional time zone, but generally it starts with a plus or minus to denote from which portion of GMT you want to go, and then a time zone denoted in this format, which is the hours and the minutes. So generally the minutes increment by 30, as you might know. So if you try to execute it, we got an error. Oh yeah, 0. We don't need to provide 0. So if you execute it, yeah, so we got it. Let me clear the screen to erase my mistakes. Well, and then let's start again. Now we've created the new time object, right? Now if you want to convert it into milliseconds, so let me define something. So epoch is nothing but number of milliseconds from 1970 Jan 1st 00. So if you use .2i, it actually converts this particular instance into that epoch value. That's the difference in milliseconds from this particular date till now. So let's execute this, and that's the value. Now I don't know why this particular date was chosen for epoch, but anytime you compare any value in any language, it measures the difference in milliseconds to this particular date. This was the era of computing, I guess. Well, anyway, okay, so now we have this milliseconds, right? So if you copy that, you can use that to construct a time object. Let's define it as time2, how original, using the function Time.at, and then you have to provide the epoch value, and Ruby will again convert that into a date. So a date time object. So if you execute it, you got the date back. Let's make some modification by giving it a 0, and if we execute it, it actually changed the date to like by 2 months and 8 days. Anyway, so now that we've learned how to create a date object, a time object, let's start by learning some convenient methods. And the first convenient method is year. So this one basically allows you to extract the current year out of a particular time object. So if you execute this one, you can see the year 2019 is provided. Similarly, Ruby is so good that it provided us with a month function which prints the month, a day function which prints the day, and then an hour, a minute, second, all those functions have been provided, and you can execute then a second function. So basically Ruby provides you all these convenient methods for extracting all the individual values out of a time object. So now that we've learned how to extract the value, there are comparison operators provided by Ruby as well. So let's say you want to check whether this is a Monday. You just give the day and then a question mark to make sure that it's a function call, and you execute the script. It says it's false because today is a Thursday. If I can type it right. And then we execute the script. It's false. Why? Oh, because I don't know what day that is. I thought it was Time.now. Well, anyway, let me give Time.now, and it gave true. Conveniently, Ruby has provided with all the other methods for all the other days, starting from Sunday all the way till Saturday. And then the other convenient method which Ruby has provided us is DST. DST stands for nothing but daylight savings time. It just says whether the particular time object, the time zone where it has been initialized with, is in a daylight savings mode or not. Currently, where I am from, the daylight savings mode is active. So if you execute it, it will print true. So now that we have two date objects, let me start by clearing this. Let's say we have two time objects. Now we want to perform some comparison. Ruby has all these built-in methods that you can just compare time1 equals time2, and it should print false. Let me clear this a bit. Let me say time1 less than time2, which is false because time1 has been initialized with 2019, which is the next year. So this should give false. If you give greater than or equal to, again it gives you correct values. So basically Ruby allows you to compare time objects similar to integers. You can use equality operator, greater than equal to, less than equal to, or whatever comparison you want to do. And if you combine that with the Time.now function available, you can easily judge whether the time given by user is greater than or less than the current time, which is pretty useful in many situations. Okay, now let's learn some other rarely used methods. So one of them is when you're creating a time object, instead of using the now or a new, you can use UTC. If you give UTC, by default it initializes the time object in UTC time zone. So if you execute this one, put as time, this is going to be in UTC time zone, as you can see here. Now if you want to create an object under GMT time zone, just use the function GM. If you want to create it in your local time zone, just use the function local. Those are convenient methods provided by Ruby to initialize a particular time object in various different time zones. And then you also have comparison functions provided by Ruby, which you can use to, well, not comparison functions, convenient functions provided to check whether it's in UTC or GMT. Since it's the local time zone, it says false, but if you initialize it in UTC, it should print true. Yeah, and then let's put GMT. That also tells you whether it's in GMT time zone or not. So basically, whatever you can think of in a human readable form, Ruby has a function for that, and it's very convenient. If you do want to print just the zone value, you can always use the function zone, and it will print you CST, which is my local time zone. If you use UTC, then it should print you UTC. I guess that covers almost all the functions available from the time class. If you have any questions, please don't forget to comment below. Otherwise, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you feel this series is helping you. Keep watching, keep practicing, and do attend the quiz which I provide in the description below to make sure you've learned everything thoroughly, and it can act kind of like a revision for you. Keep plowing through the remaining videos in my playlist. I can guarantee you that you will become an expert in a single day. See you guys in the next video. Bye.